And here we go again. So, 2 videos in 2 days. We're on a roll this week. I don't know why. I've got a little bit more time in the evening, so I thought we'd do another one. I've been asked about this rifle. It was in the background on the MCX video, I believe, and a couple of times when it's been posted in places in reference to stuff. People have asked about it, so I thought we'd go over it a little bit. I've changed my camera angle setup a little bit today, so we'll see if that works, because it means that I'd have to worry about knocking the camera on this side of the desk. I just hope that it comes over okay. But anyway, here we are. So what we're talking about today, we're talking about my KS1 rifle. It's a KS1 build, built off a VFC SR16E3 carbine, and obviously some bits have been changed to make it more like the KS1. It's not a perfect build. There's no such thing as a perfect KS1 build at the moment. It's just as close as we can get them for the time being. We're starting to see a lot more interest in the KS1 ever since the Royal Marines and the Rangers have announced it as their new rifle, as the L403A1. This was actually based on the L400A1, which was the same rifle sent for trials for UKSF, but a little bit before the Rangers and Royal Marines completed their trials, it went through UKSF trials. And there are some minor differences to the setup that the Royal Marines appear to have taken compared to the one that went through UKSF trials, but it's basically the same base rifle. Now, the difficulty in airsoft is that no one actually makes the receiver that is the KS1 receiver. And if I had better editing skills, I'd insert a picture right now of the actual KS1 receiver, but there's some slight differences. So what did I start with? So this was originally a black SR16E3 carbine. It originally had a standard Eurex full rail, which is this one here. It's not the right rail for the reasons as follows. One, it's got these QD studs here. You'll notice that the slots in the top of the receiver are wrong. So the Eurex has multiple slots on this rib section, and the KS1 rail does not. Also, the rail differs in length. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it differs in length by about ½ an inch, just over 1 centimetre. So it's designed for a 14-inch barrel, whereas the KS1 actually uses a 13.7-inch barrel. So that's why the rail is a little bit shorter. My SR16 did have a 14.5-inch barrel. It still does, actually. It's just, I'll explain in a moment, but it's cleverly disguised. The Airsoft Artisan rail was first done, which is the correct rail for the KS1. A gentleman within the UKSF impressions community pushed Airsoft Artisan to make it, which is good, because I couldn't be bothered this time, because after dealing with the A2 rail all those years ago. So I let him run with it. So we got that rail on there. Obviously it's sprayed in a tan, a dark earth colour. We have a 3D printed PRT can on there. Mine is countersunk to make it appear as if this is a 13.7-inch barrel, when in actual fact it's a 14. It's just well hidden, so it's at the right spacing for a 13.7. We changed the pistol grip from the standard pistol grip that comes on the SR16 to the one that was used, apparently is in use by UKSF, which is the K2 Plus grip from Magpul, and the CTR stock. you'll see the Royal Marines are using an SL, I think it's the SL grip. I'm not really good with the Magpul grip names, but I think it's the SL grip, which is similar to one you find on the Noveski rifle, the N4. Also, there was an SL stock was going to be offered with the KS1, but UKSF decided to go with the CTR, which is what they've been using on the A2s for the most part. And I believe that even the Royal Marines are now having the CTR stock as well. The main difference between the KS1 and the SR16E3 is that on the KS1, the ambi bolt release is vertically placed, whereas on the SR16 it's horizontally placed. This is the closest you can get. Luckily, the selector is still the same ambi selector, so I was able to utilise that. I'm still going through some iterations of what I want on here. The BCM grip is perfect, but I switch between the M300 and WML Lite. This is the B&T branded one, but it's the Enforce Lite basically. That's what I have been having on it, but I've recently decided to try this on a double pressure switch. The real KS1 doesn't have this PEC box. This is the NGAL. KS1 uses a different PEC box, which I'm not sure if I should mention publicly, so I'll leave it at that. Although apparently a lot of people are still using the LA5 PEC box on these. Something to do with the button setup. Some of the guys prefer the original button setup that they used to with the LA5s, and they've gone back to them. The Royal Marine rifle is seen with Vortex optic, with the Geisley mount and the Acro P2 on top. I do need to get an Acro P2 for this, but in UKSF trials there was a SIG scope trial, there was the Romeo 8T RMR, and also things like the LCO have been seen used. You don't need a variable optic all the time, and they are quite heavy and bulky, so when you're doing only a close quarters operation, I guess that they like going to a dot sight rather than that. I'm using the VMags, which is the VFC version of the PMag. They're a really nice magazine. They're super tough, really lightweight, and pretty efficient. So rather than the standard grey or black Stanags. The scope I'm using, this 6 hour scope, is actually a replica, although it's a really exceptional replica, it really is. You'll notice that I've got a Magpul RSA on there. That is because Airsoft Artisan in their infinite wisdom didn't go with the usual barrel nut setup that comes on the VFC, which is solid. The rail directly threads on, and it's really hard to time, and it can come loose when you're bashing around, especially when we're handling with the dogs or whatever it is. So the RSA on there is to make sure that lockup's completely solid and that it doesn't turn. I suspect that you'll see a lot of the people using these rails will have some kind of option to lock their rail in place. I think the Magpul RSA is good because it does allow me to utilise it, and it also really locks on very solid. It's low profile, it's out of the way, so that's what I've gone for. I'm using a QD stud on the rear currently. I do sometimes put the stock onto the sling onto the stock directly. The sling I'm using is a Bareback Industries FLS sling. This is one of the slightly earlier generations with the later generation toggle added lace by the guys at Bareback for me. I've been using these slings now for probably about 5 years. I was using them on the A2 as well. Apparently they're really common and well liked by the guys in the troops. Also on my stock I've got a Bareback sling tidy. That was actually put on by Bareback when they were using my rifle for a demo at a trade show. So what's really I changed my charging handle out for an aftermarket charging handle. If I just drop the magazine out. It's a BCM Gunfighter charging handle. It's actually a really nice charging handle. And as you can see, this has a steel bolt with the Knights Armament logo. That's as stock on the VFC. I've fitted the CL Project Design end pass into here as well, so I can adjust the power. And yeah, the setup's pretty good. I haven't used it a huge amount yet. We used it for a couple of training things. I do need to attach my scope a bit more sturdy, but there we go. I haven't actually used this sight setup yet. I normally use it with the LCO, so I'm looking forward to actually trialling the variable optic. If we have a quick look inside, so this is going to be a bit of a look inside the VFC M4 AR15 series as well. My rear pin's actually remarkably tight. So if we use the back of this Gerber knife, tap the pin out. I like the receiver lockup being tight. I'm used to that with GHKs as well. It means you get no receiver wobble and you get better efficiency. If you can push the pins out easy, it also means they're able to walk out easier, so it's not always a good thing. Do the same with the front pin. I think what has actually added to the pin tightness on mine though is also where I painted it. So my SR16 is actually not a V3, it's a V2 late. We got these rifles when we heard that they were about to pass trials 2 years ago now. We heard these are about to pass trials. We grabbed the last 4 that were available. Even though they're a V2, they do have the V3 upgrade. So you got the V3 knocker, steel hammer, steel sear, steel bolt catch, steel release, steel mag release, steel selectors, steel pins, and as I said before, we also have a steel bolt carrier, which really didn't want to let the magnet go. It doesn't have the steel outer barrel. I will change my outer barrel at some point. I need to get the golf balled lightened barrel that Knights use. I don't currently have one in here. I'm using the standard SR15 barrel because it can be barely seen anyway. For the bit I have shot this, it's been actually astoundingly good. It's been very efficient, even though I only used it in the colder weather. It gives very good recoil. I've actually been really happy with it. But I will look forward to using it some more. I'm just going to tap that pin back in. And you can see how tight my pins actually are. I'm making a bit more of a mountain of it than needs to be, but there we go. So yeah, there's the basic SR16 stroke KS1 setup. The KS1 also differs in that here where mine said SR16E3 carbine, it does have KS1 rifle engraved into the upper. The lower receiver, the markings are the same. And likewise on this side, the markings are the same, except I think it might actually say KS1 rather than SR16 there. I have to check because I've actually forgotten. I haven't Cerakoted mine. I will maybe eventually, but to be perfectly honest with you, because mine is based on the UKSF one, they all get sprayed, so it's more of a base colour to be sprayed on top of. So eventually this will get painted in its camo-esque pattern as you would expect it to, like the A2s were. If this magazine is empty, I am using the V3 mags, of course, which are very good, very efficient. We'll see if this has got some gas in it. And so, as you can see, it's even in this room, which is really freezing cold at the moment, with only storage gas, it's still having no issue cycling, and That's me manually locking the bolt because I switched the bolt lock off. So that steel bolt is still perfectly efficient. The trigger on these is really, really nice. It's no slack, no take up at all. You're right on the wall. Relatively clean brake. There's a little bit of mush. And a nice short reset. Really positive, very short, no over travel, and a clean brake. It's actually a really, really good trigger. The only trigger that I think is actually nicer than this is actually the MCX triggers. They're VFC put exceptional triggers into those APFGs. But this is actually a very, very good trigger, very snappy, very responsive. For those of you that used the L19A2 before, replicas of, the main difference I've noticed between this, even though it's longer than the commonly used short A2, the 10-inch A2s, is that this is far slimmer, far easier to manoeuvre, even with the longer length and with the suppressor attached. The A2 is quite a bulky system. I didn't realise how sort of outdated it was going to feel until I switched to this. And now going back to an A2 really does feel bulky and dated, to be honest. This is a much more modern platform. People saying, oh, it's just another M4. Yes, it is. There's a reason why a lot of the militaries, especially the Special Forces, go for M4 type variants, is because they work really well and because the system has progressed. The ambi controls, the M-lock handguards, the technology behind it, the reliability behind it, they've still kept going and they're working very, very well. And you do see a progression. If you look back, I'll show you another time. I've got A1s here, DeMarco A1s and my A2s. You can see the life progression as they've moved forward with lighter weight front ends and things like that. As techniques have changed and things have become a bit more slick. But yeah, that's the general overview of a KS1 gas blowback rifle from VFC. It's a short one today. I just wanted to go over it a little bit to explain what this was, what the differences are between this and the SR16, and also what the differences are between the KS1 and the SR16E3. I think most people's builds are just being built for standard M4 receiver. We obviously went for the SR16 one. It's an easy build, relatively. The hardest part of these is actually that the SR16E3 comes with the VFC guide rod hop that's adjusted through the gas block. Because of the Airsoft Artisan rail, you have to take that guide rod hop system out. So I've got a standard gas tube in there, and I've actually switched the hop up to, I think I've got an A+ in there, which can be adjusted inside the cartridge chamber, because there's no way to get the guide rod hop adjuster through the Airsoft Artisan's collar. Please, if you have any questions, fire them in the comments below. I know this is a shorter video, but people were asking, so I like to deliver when I'm asked and just explain a few things, and I hope you like the content. Thanks again.